Righto, today I'm doing the Ride or Die book tag. Now I was tagged to do this by Kira from the Book Bella, and I'm just going to get straight into it because I want to, and I don't really have anything else to say. So the first question is The BFF, a book not everyone likes, but it's been with you since the start. You will always love them. So I went with City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I don't feel as though that's a shock to anyone. I've only recently read these books, so it's not a case of they've been with me since the start, but it is a book that a lot of people seem to really dislike, and I am on the other end, and I absolutely love them. I read this first book when I was in school, reread it this year, actually had no recollection of anything that had happened, so it was like reading it for the first time all over again. And this book series, I've owned them for years, so they have actually been with me for years, for about 7 or 8. And I love them. So the next question is The Long Drive, a book you take on a journey or if you know you'll be spending a lot of time unable to move. Think planes, trains or automobiles. So for that, naturally my brain went with pick a big book if you're going to be there for ages. And I chose It by Stephen King. This is a book I've been dying to get to, and I just never get round to it because, quite frankly, it's a chonker. It intimidates me. And how many pages is this? It's over 1,000, I know that much. And frankly, I just look at it like, no, don't do that, don't do that. It is 1,067 pages. So I keep looking at this and thinking, you don't want to read this. It's too big. Just no. And I really do. So if I was going somewhere and it was going to take me forever to get there, this would be the one I chose because I had the time. So, question 3 is The Newcomer, the most recent book you read that you can't stop talking about. And this is very true. It's not exactly a recent book that I read, but it's the most recent one that I can't stop talking about. And it's not necessarily to my friends because a lot of them haven't read it. Those that have didn't particularly like it. But I chose The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I really enjoyed this book. I didn't think it was perfect by any means of the word. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was interesting. I felt as though it was paced a bit oddly. There was parts where I felt if 100 pages had been taken out of the book, it could probably have been perfection for me. But it just felt as though it went on a bit too long. The parts that were actually quite high intensity didn't get enough action, whereas there were parts that didn't really matter that much that got quite a lot. It was interesting. But I keep talking to people about this because I keep coming up with theories about what's going to happen should this be made into another series and how I think the series as a whole is going to play out. And that is my prediction, theory, thought. I just can't stop talking to people about it. People who have read The Hunger Games, and I say to people like, read this book, you really need to. I want to discuss with you about what's going to happen. And then if it's people that have no interest in reading the book, I just tell them what's happened. I'm like, right, so here's where I think it's going to go. And I just talk about it all the time. And as much as other people really disliked it, I really enjoyed it. And I have no complaints about it. I do. But I just feel as though it doesn't ruin the story in any way. It adds to it in a decent way, but not too much. And I'm glad the direction it went with it. And I hope that continues to really bump it up and bump the story up to try and make some of the points that were just missed out a little less pointless, if that makes sense. So, the next question is The Quiet One, the book you reach for when you need some peace and quiet. Now, this is also a recent book for me. It was gifted to me by my stepmother who told me I needed to read it. And that is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. I have read this book twice now, I think. And it's just whenever I'm in a bit of a mood, I'm just like, I'm okay, I'm fine. I need some quiet. I reach for this because I think it's just so easy to read. It's cute. It's precious. It's just all about mental health and looking introspectively at yourself. It's lovely. It talks about friendships and love and caring and priorities in life, and it's a cute, easy, simple read. And when I just need to be alone and when I want some peace and quiet, this is a very nice book to turn to. Yes, it is. So the next, oh my god, there's a fly, I'm gonna kill it. So the next question is the outgoing one. The book you love to read in public or don't mind keeping with you for antisocial social occasions. I found this very difficult. In the end, I didn't end up choosing a single book. I chose an entire book series. And obviously, I'm going to go with Alex Cross. This, I don't even know, this was just the first one that I picked up off my shelf. This one's crossed my heart. But the entire Alex Cross series, it's amazing. It is my favourite series written by James Patterson. I love it. It's 30 books, and people know how much I love it. You guys, if you've watched my video for more than 10 seconds, you will know that I love James Patterson and I love the Alex Cross books. So, I would read these. I really would. I wouldn't care where I was. I would take them out. I take them to everywhere I go. I always take a book wherever I go. If I go to a party or a social event, I take a book because, like, no offense, but if you're boring me, I'm going to be reading because life's too short for me to just sit and not enjoy a party when I could be reading a book. Next question is the guilty pleasure. The book you don't want to justify because it'd be too embarrassing, but you love it anyway. Now, I've mentioned before, and I think a lot of people feel the same way, I don't have a guilty pleasure. I don't feel guilty about enjoying any sort of book I like, and I know it's very cliche to say that, but there is one book that I have said, I love this, it is one of my favourites, and I have been criticised for it because a lot of other people didn't like it, and they said it was ridiculous that I did. And it was The Host. A lot of people thought it was ridiculous that I enjoyed this book because I think a lot of them were just on the bandwagon of, we hate this book because it was written by the same author of Twilight, and I enjoyed Twilight. But to be fair, not enough to want to read Midnight Sun, but I really enjoyed Twilight, and then I read this one. It was just different. Like, there was no similarity to Twilight. There is the whole concept of like a love triangle thing, and like I kind of see that point being similar, but the fact that a lot of people are judging this book and my enjoyment of it based on Twilight is ridiculous to me, and I just thought it makes it awkward for me to talk about books like this because it makes me think, well, if I'm just going to get called for it every time I say that I enjoy this book, what's the point? And I just think that's the point, because people are going to complain about it and it doesn't deserve it. So I always fight and say how much I love this book. But I also find it quite ironic that everyone's saying, oh my god, you're reading that book, it's so crap, it was written by the author of Twilight, it was awful, it's all just lovey and insta-love. Yet how many people are going mad about Midnight Sun being out now? Anyway, I love this book. It is amazing. I love it so much. And it's one of those books where I do feel as though sometimes I struggle to tell people how much I love this book. I don't struggle to tell you guys because, quite frankly, you're a camera. You can't complain. You complain in the comments and I can just delete you. It's simple. But I don't like telling people out in public just because they say, oh, God, really? Really? You like that trash? And I'm just like, oh. Sometimes it's just not worth the hassle. And that's how I've kind of felt for a while. I'm just going on a bit of a spiel. Sorry. This book. Next question is The Stranger. The book nobody seems to have heard of and you wish everyone had read it so that you could talk about it. Here we go. This is the book I've wanted to talk about for a while. It's not Nemesis. No, this is actually another book series that I love. I've actually got all 3 books. And it's one that I think more people would enjoy. I think Nemesis is very hit or miss for some people, and I accept that. But this series, I think everyone will enjoy. Like, I think if you love YA, you love a bit of drama, maybe a bit of dystopia. It's been a while since I read these, so I don't fully remember it now. I'm sure the later books have a bit of dystopia in it. But basically, I think people would enjoy this book more than they would like the Nemesis ones. And that is the Numbers trilogy by Rachel Ward. I loved all 3 of these. This is Numbers, and it follows a young girl called Jem who sees the date people are going to die just by looking into their eyes. She sees their number. And then one day she sees the numbers of everyone around her is exactly the same. And she knows that today something is going to happen to these people. And then it happens, and it's about her trying to evade capture because the police are saying, you knew this was going to happen. Well, how? And then these books follow on, and I don't really want to tell you anything about the future books because it kind of spoils the first book if I do that. But this is a really good series. It is so interesting. It's a YA series. I read it in school, and I can't explain how interesting it is. It is a concept that I personally have never seen before. It might not be that original, but I wouldn't know. For me, I'd never seen that before. The concept of a young girl being able to look into somebody's eyes and see the date they will die is very new to me. And it was so interesting because then you get to see everyone she meets, you're suddenly thinking, when are you going to die? When are you going to die? And it makes you scared to connect to these people. And I love that. And I love the concept. And then it only progresses. In the future books, this progresses to the next level. And it's amazing. And it is one that I 100% recommend to anybody that ever asks, because it is one of those series that people need to read and need to talk about. And I would love to talk about somebody with it, and nobody ever seems to have read them, and it's so stressful. So if you want to read a YA sci-fi-ish, it's not really sci-fi, a YA dystopia-ish, I don't really know how to describe it. It's a YA book about a girl that can see the date people are going to die. If you want to read that, please do it, because I really want to talk to somebody about it. Okay, I can move on now. Okay, the next one. The book was better. A book you loved, but the film adaptation was awful. I struggled with this one because I didn't hate the film adaptation. I went with Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters. A lot of people hate these movie adaptations. I personally didn't mind them. I think if you're comparing book 1 and 2 to the movies, obviously the film is dreadful because you have to compare it. You compare it scene by scene. You say, oh no, they missed that out, they missed this out, they missed this out. And it just makes you think, no, this is really not good. I don't like it. It's missed too much out. It's not that interesting. And I had a kind of different perspective. I went to watch the movies. I saw both of these movies before I read the books. So it was different for me. And I was the same. I've been the same with a lot of book series that have been turned into films. I watched them before I read them, so I didn't have that comparison. So watching this movie as a standalone movie that was not compared to the book, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was quite fun and interesting, and it was kind of funny. When I read the books, I realised that, yeah, it was actually a little bit trash. But I don't hate the movie because I still associate the movie with that time that I watched it before I read this. So I don't hate the movie. I don't think it was awful. But in comparison to the book, not great. Okay. Next is the author. An author you'll read everything they'll ever produce. You trust them completely. Whether it's a new book series, or a shopping list. You all know me. My obvious answer would be James Patterson. However, I'm going to pick somebody new because I don't want to just repeat myself over and over again with these tags. I don't see the point. So I'm going to say Linwood Barclay. He is another author that is an insta-buy author for me. I would read everything he's ever got. A lot of the books I have on this shelf, I have actually read them already. I think I've not read about 3 of his books. And I own all of them. I love them. Every book I've read has always been excellent. I've never been disappointed with his books. And he is an insta-buy author. No matter what he produces, I will buy it. I will read it. And it's new. It's not James Patterson. It's a new guy. This guy. He's very good. One thing I will say about Linwood Barclay, because I love it. It's one of my favourite thriller tropes, is the multiple twist endings. You see the twist ending and you're like, crap, I didn't see that coming. It's really shaken me. I'm going to have to process this. And then on 3 pages later, it's another twist. But they're not twists that you're just oh, for God's sake. No, this is just crap. It's getting ridiculous now. It's just here for shock value. It's not there for shock value. It's actually it's interesting how he comes up with these twists. And one thing you can kind of pretty much guarantee, there's always going to be about 2. There's always going to be 2 twists in a book, at least minimum, with this guy. And I love it. I love him. I love his books. It's great. So, I just dropped my pile. Whoops. So, the final question is the tubers. Pick 3 booktubers, tag them, and let them know that they are your ride or die. Ah, I like that one. Okay, I didn't plan this one. I am going to tag... I don't know. Who am I going to tag? I'm going to tag Lauren from She Is Such a Lauren. I am going to tag Claire from Books with Claire. And I am going to tag Jade from Paperback to Hardback. Enjoy doing the tag, guys. I have so many people who could be my ride or dies. So I thought I'd choose people who I don't tag too much. And then I chose Jade because lol. Well, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I gave you some variety in the books I chose this time. I tried not picking the same books that I choose all the time. I know, like some with the Alex Cross ones, for example, and the Host, they always kind of pop up. But maybe there's a reason they pop up, and maybe you should just check them out. But if I was going to recommend any, I don't really want to just badger on and be like, do it, do it, do it. But if I was going to recommend you picks up any of them, I would recommend Numbers, seriously, because I really enjoyed it. And I think if you enjoy like a mystery YA thrillery type book, it's a great one to read. And it's quite a unique concept, so do it. So let me know if you have read any of these books and what you think of any of them. And if you want to do the tag and I haven't tagged you, feel free to say that I tagged you. I, of course, am happy to tag you. And that is it from me. So I post every Monday, Wednesday and Saturday, and then intermittently throughout the week whenever I feel as though I have something random to post. So until next time, guys, thank you so much. I will see you later.